I need you to hear me.
Here we go again.
No, this time you're going to listen. You know exactly what you're doing, don't you?
What are you even talking about?
The lies, the gaslighting. The way you break me down just enough so I start questioning myself. And then when I'm finally ready to walk away, you pull me back in.
You're making this way more dramatic than it is.
Am I? Or is that just what you need me to believe? That I'm too emotional? Too sensitive? That I'm the problem?
Well, aren't you?
You don't even deny it. You know exactly how much you've hurt me. You just don't care.
If you didn't act the way you do, I wouldn't have to.
You're never gonna change, are you?
You stayed this long.
Not anymore. He already sees it. He already knows. He just doesn't care. And as long as you keep excusing him, as long as you keep hoping for the best, he wins.
He already sees it. He already understands it, doesn't care. I need you to hear me when I say this. He knows exactly what he's doing. You might not want to realize this or see this, but it is true. The lies, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the cycle of breaking you down just to pull you back in. He knows. The problem is you're sitting here thinking maybe he's unaware. That if you just explain it to him the right way, if you just word it differently, if you just show him the pain that he's causing you, then he'll stop. Is that what you're thinking? I've had clients that have thought that, and I have clients that I've asked them, how many times have you explained this? And they've said, well, probably thousands. I'm like, he still doesn't see it? Well, yeah, that's because he actually sees it. He knows it, and he just doesn't care. And I know that because that's who I used to be. No matter how much my wife explained it to me, I wasn't going to shift who I was. I used to destroy the person that I loved and the person that I claimed to love, and I would justify it every single step of the way. And no matter how much she would say, this is not helpful, this is hurting me, this is unkind, I didn't care. Because what I cared about in the moment was my own desires, my own flesh, my own carnal desires of what I wanted in my life. And that was, she was an inconvenience. I wanted something different. And so I didn't care because it was all about me. I want you to understand that the guy in your life knows, understands the things that he's doing to you, and he actually just doesn't care. You think he doesn't realize how much he's hurting you? You think he doesn't see? You think that he's unaware of the emotional wreckage that he's leaving behind, the wake of broken hearts that he's leaving inside of your life? He knows. He just doesn't care the way that you want him to. He doesn't care about what's actually happening, what's actually going on. So when I lied, when I manipulated, when I tore her down, see, all of those things, I had a reason for all of it in my mind. I had to justify it so I would feel better. Well, maybe she's just too emotional. I don't want to deal with it. I can't deal with her emotions right now. She overreacts to everything. I don't have time for that. I have to go to work. I have to do this. She keeps pushing me away and playing the victim. There's all different types of things and excuses. Well, if she didn't act like this, then I wouldn't have to do this. I wouldn't have to respond that way. If she would listen, then I wouldn't have to yell. Every single time I broke her down, I had to make it her fault so I wouldn't feel bad about myself. I had to convince myself that I was the victim. I was the one that was getting hurt. I was the one that had to do this, that I was just responding to her behavior. Sound familiar? This might be what you're struggling with and what you're seeing, because he gets it and he continues to do it over and over. He builds the cycle in his life. Let's talk about how he gets away with it. First thing he does is he creates the illusion that it's you. He makes a big facade that everything that you do is wrong. Now, it didn't always start off that way. At the beginning, everything was perfect. Love bombing was great. The intense connection, perfect. The feeling that you found something real was amazing. And all of a sudden, all that starts to disintegrate and starts to be different because he starts changing the rules. You're never going to win playing a narcissist game. You're never going to win playing the toxic game because he's going to change the rules all the time. He's going to push a little, cross over a small, tiny boundary, say something hurtful, and then follow it just like, I was just joking. It wasn't that big of a deal. Why are you reacting that way? And when you call it out, he flips it around on you. He has to give you the illusion that it's your fault, that you're the problem, that you're the issue in the relationship so that he feels better about himself. You're too sensitive. You seem like you're just always looking for a fight. You can never just let things go. Why can't you just move on? Why can't you just let the past be in the past? And now you've gotten to the place that you started questioning yourself every single day, wondering, maybe he's right. Maybe it is me. Maybe I did make a mistake. Maybe it was something that I said that I could have said better. Because he has to justify the pain that he's causing you. He doesn't just see himself as a bad guy. That would mean taking accountability, and he's never going to do that. Narcissists don't actually see themselves as being bad people. Instead, they have to look at themselves as a good person and have to flip the narrative, flip the story. So he finds reasons to flip it around, that it's you that's the problem. Well, she makes me do this. She's too emotional, so I have to respond this way. If she really loved me, she wouldn't act this way. She wouldn't call me out. She wouldn't treat me this way. She wouldn't degrade me or devalue me. Every time you cry, every time you're hurt, every time you break, he has to tell himself something else. You deserved it. It's not his fault. He has to find ways to be able to put the blame on you. And he uses all of these different reactions and responses to control you. Think about it for a second. The more he hurts you, the more you react. And the more you react, the more he feels justified to do the things that he's doing. Well, I have to do it because that's how she's treating me. If you yell, if you cry, if you get emotional, he sits back, he gets frustrated, he gets overwhelmed. He might just sit back and just say, well, you're crazy. I can't believe you're acting like this. This is why I act the way I do, because of how you show up. Like, can you believe you're doing this? You're acting like a child. No one else would deal with this. Why do I have to deal with this? Why are you acting this way? Have you had those phrases? Because suddenly you get to the place where you're the one that's apologizing. You're the one that has to prove yourself, being like, no, I didn't do this. You're the one that's actually fighting for his love while he does absolutely nothing. These are the cycles. These are the tactics that he actually is doing to be able to convince you that it's your fault. That's how he maintains control. That's how he keeps you under him. You have to realize throughout all of this, he's not going to change. You think and you hope and you pray that you want to believe that maybe it's going to happen. If he just sees what he's doing, he'll stop. Wake up call. He already sees it. He already understands it, doesn't care. The truth inside of here that I wish somebody had told other people. I wish people had told you earlier. He already sees it. He already knows. And he doesn't care. If you can start to see this and understand this early on, you can find a path to freedom. Because he doesn't want to change. He hasn't been willing to change. He hasn't been willing to show up honest, vulnerable, to actually work on himself. He just wants control over the narrative, over what he does. And as long as you keep believing him, as long as you keep excusing him, as long as you keep hoping for the best, he wins. He maintains control over you. He keeps you wondering, hoping, praying, thinking, and as a result, you stay stuck. You stay stuck in an endless way of trying to be able to break free from his justifications. There's a couple things you need to do. You need to stop explaining yourself. You don't need to prove that you're in pain. You don't need to prove that you're hurt. You don't need to make him see, this is what you've done to me. Can you not see it? Because he already knows. You'll spend so much time trying to prove and justify and show him different things when reality is he already knows. He just doesn't care. You're wasting your time. The other thing is you need to stop letting him define your reality, because you're looking at your life and he's spent so long twisting your mind, making you believe that you're the problem. You're going to spend so much time justifying and trying to say the truth of like, no, I'm not the problem. This is what happens. But you might have to write things down. You might have to start tracking the patterns so you can start trusting yourself again, because you're not even sure of what's real. You have to get to the place where you start to realize, wait a second, I have to have healthy boundaries that say, no, I'm not going to go past this. I'm not going to communicate about this. I'm not going to tell about this. I'm not going to work through this. Why? Because you realize that you've been beating yourself blue in the face and he doesn't actually care because he hasn't actually changed anything at all. You keep trying to sell yourself that it's going to change. Nothing has changed. And if you look at the past, 5 years, 2 years, 10 years, 25 years, you see nothing has changed and you've become a hostage to hope thinking that it's going to change, but it hasn't. You might be at this place and you're like, oh, I just feel like I've ruined everything. I feel broken. I feel like I can't fix anything. I feel confused, emotionally. I feel numb. I want you to understand, like, you're exhausted. That deep down, there's still a part of you that still believes in him, still wanting him to change. But listen to me. You're stronger than what you think. And right now, you think that there's no way that you can recreate your life. You can rebuild you. The only reason you feel weak right now is because you spent so many years with him. And he spent so many years making sure that you did feel weak, that you did feel like you weren't good enough, that you weren't valuable, that you didn't have any worth. It's because you're believing the lies. You're believing the lies that he's placed upon you. You're believing the lies that he's told and he's conditioned and he's slowly infiltrated into your life and has left you stuck. And oftentimes it's left you completely alone, isolated from friends and family who don't understand what you're going through because they've never walked that same road. You don't have to do this alone. You don't have to heal in isolation. Most people that try don't actually do it. You need people who actually see the truth, who understand what you've been through, who remind you of the person who you were before he rewired your mindset, before he left you stuck, questioning and doubting yourself. This is why I created the Thriver community. Because you have to be able to see breaking free isn't just about walking away from him. You have to be able to shift your identity so that you no longer ascribe to his version of reality for you. So that you can actually rebuild who you are, break the trauma bond, eradicate the triggers, deal with the emotions so you can actually have boundaries, learn to say no, find your purpose. And if that's you today, if you're ready to stop waiting for him to change, if you're ready to finally accept the truth, then this is your next step. I want you to go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough and join the Thriver community. Because breaking free is never done in isolation. The truth is, he had never had to justify destroying you. He just did it because it's what he does. He just needed you to believe that he needed a reason, which is why he blamed you for it, which is why he said different things, that it was all your fault. He needed you to believe that you were worthless, that you didn't have any value, that you weren't good enough, so that you would keep trying over and over and over again to be good enough. But no matter what you did, nothing changed. Because he knows and he understands what's happening, and he just doesn't care. If you're at the place where you're ready to stop waiting for him to change, hoping that he changes, and he doesn't, then time is now for you to move forward. To take the next step, go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Watch the video that I have for you. Jump on a free call with me and let's talk. Let's build a plan for your healing so you can actually be free and find yourself again.
You've been told it's all your fault and that makes you feel crazy. No one understands you and that leaves you in a place of being alone. You've tried to break free multiple times and that leaves you helpless because nothing you've done has actually worked. It hasn't actually got you free or liberated from this toxic relationship. So you feel crazy, alone, and hopeless. Guess what? That's a lie. Because all it is how you've been raised and conditioned inside of this abusive relationship over and over. And as a result, you've sacrificed your growth, you've sacrificed your worth, and you've been trapped inside of a toxic relationship. What if I showed you the path to freedom? A way for you to actually get free mentally and emotionally from the toxicity that's happening right here, right now. You deserve more. You deserve to be able to heal. And I want to help you with that. If I can help you with that, go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, schedule a call there, and let's talk.